Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we finally return with more F1 Manager 24. Yes, it is release day when this video goes live, so we are finally diving back in with more of our My Team career mode. Of course, quickly, I just want to say an insane thank you for the support so far on this series. The first 3 episodes absolutely blew all of my expectations out of the water, so I cannot thank you guys enough for the support so far that you've shown on this game. I really want to play a lot of F1 Manager on the channel over the coming weeks and months, and hopefully tonight we're going to be live as well here on this YouTube channel and over on my Twitch. I'll make sure I leave a link down in the bio below because we are going to be kickstarting our Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari career mode as well, trying to make Hamilton a world champion with, of course, the team he is heading to in 2025. But that series is for then. We're back today with 212 Motorsports as we head to Suzuka. Now, unfortunately, obviously, if you guys watched the Australian Grand Prix, you'll know we had an absolutely beautiful weekend. We managed to pick up a point with Yuki Tsunoda in our first car and our first ever points inside this game. Now, unfortunately, because obviously I was on a beta version of the game then, when you got to the end of Albert Park, Australia, it would basically take you back to the start of the race. Over and over and over. You couldn't kind of like save the result or anything, and unfortunately I couldn't get a point again with Yuki by the time obviously that the full game has released there. So unfortunately we're back on 0. Annoyingly as well, Daniel Ricciardo actually picked up another point for VCarb. So annoyingly, yeah, they've got now a 3-point margin over us. Taking a look at the Drivers and Constructors Championship though, Verstappen, he leads the way now. You can see 11 points ahead of Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc still in third ahead of Perez and Carlos Sainz there. And yeah, Tsunoda down into 12th, unfortunately, and Liam Lawson down in 19th place. F2 and F3 then, we can see currently it is still Behrman with a 13-point lead over Bortoleto, with Antonelli still in P3. And Formula 3, Kasper Schupke is still in the lead of that series. They're ahead of his teammate Tim Tramnitz there, with Dino Beganovic and Ollie Goethe in P3 and P4. I mean, Kasper Schupke has got a ridiculous lead at the top of that Formula 2 table early on. Maybe, just maybe, he is a man to watch out for in the future there, as I do love the fact, obviously, you can really take a look through all of the results inside this game as well. So yeah, on the simulated version of Australia, Verstappen obviously took the win ahead of Norris and Sainz there. Annoyingly, Tsunoda came 11th in the end, but he was 1 lap down, so we don't know how close he really was to Daniel Ricciardo. And George Russell apparently got fastest lap, except for the fact he never did a single lap time in the Grand Prix there as well. But yeah, as we head though here to Japan, obviously timestamps will be linked down below as well if you just want to head to key points of the weekend. I've been listening to your guys' feedback, I've been reading the comments. You're really loving kind of keeping these videos quite long, so they're probably going to all remain around about an hour, so grab some popcorn if you haven't already, and we will really get into this. Like I've said, you know, I want to keep this series daily as close to possible then. So Liam Lawson currently is not too happy inside the team. He's not happy with our team principal either, so that's something we're going to really need to try and work on over the next few rounds as well. We have obviously hopefully got some more upgrades coming onto the car in the very near future as well there before we head, as you can see, to the next Grand Prix. Manufacturing for the chassis and the underfloor should be complete. Now, I don't believe we can do anything else in terms of upgrades at the moment, as apparently the front wing on Tsunoda's car was running into some problems. I don't believe we've got any kind of time left, have we, at the moment? As obviously we'll try and do a new front wing. Oh, okay, so there we go. The MAU hours and the ATR period has reset. So we, again, then will try and do half and half on all of those use cases. Obviously, yeah, we'll be able to do a front and a rear wing upgrade then, which should hopefully appear on the car in the not too distant future. Trying to keep things fairly neutral early on in the game, obviously, until we've really kind of figured out what's good and what isn't with the car. So we'll have 5 engineers on that, except for, again, I've got no money. Will engineers make it cheaper? Apparently not. I don't know. Can I use less wind tunnel time? Will that do it? And less MAU hours? Well, we'll try that. We'll see if that works. No, it's just always 1.8 million. That's a bit of annoying. So we're going to have to cancel that project and hopefully do it after the Japanese Grand Prix then. I like to spend my time on this game forgetting what I can and can't do, apparently, in the very early stages. But yeah, we'll hopefully get all of those new parts onto the car as well. There's the manufacturing will be complete. And there we go. You can see, so we need new chassis, but I think obviously we've now got those in, haven't we? A little bit further down. There we go. Chassis, we'll install, well, we can install one on Yuki Tsunoda's car. So we need to try and make sure that we manufacture a few more of those ready for the weekend. Although I believe as well, we're meant to be getting more of those in the not too distant future. So we'll manufacture some more parts, I guess. Obviously make sure that we've got all of those. Oh, there we go. It's already on the way. I don't need to worry. Hopefully as I get back in and play this game more, then hopefully we're going to have a better idea as to everything that is going on as well. As Pedro Matos has got himself up to 76 rated. I guess that's a good thing as well. Can I do any more upgrades on the car? I think we've obviously got a new underfloor on the way, haven't we? Changed design, so we'll make sure that we put that... Oh, it's already obviously on one car, isn't it? So we can put it on Liam Lawson's car as well there. So both of them running with some upgrades this weekend. We can see, yeah, obviously we've got that one as well. And, oh no, sorry, we don't want to remove it, do we, from Tsunoda's car. I'm just going to mess around with a few bits, and I'll see you guys out there ready for free practice.
Konnichiwa from the Suzuka circuit in Japan. This unique track is a favourite home for motorsports, and it welcomes us back this weekend. Get ready for exhilaration and speed with the Japanese Grand Prix.
Red Bull have outscored their rivals to be at the top of the constructors' table right now. And as the final round begins, what a season it's been.
What will happen this weekend? Only time will tell.
Well, clearly Karun Chandok believes it's 1988. Why on earth does he believe this is the last round of the season? I don't know whether he's getting sacked or what, but we've got 20 more races to go after this one. And apparently then, for the first time ever inside F1 Manager 24, we have got to deal with some tricky conditions then. Light rain throughout free practice, dry running right the way throughout Saturday, and then light rain throughout the race as well. There, obviously, the Suzuka circuit is quite a balanced one in terms of speed and downforce, so it is going to be interesting to see how we get on. And I have remembered as well, obviously, we need to try and make sure that we are fine-tuning the car before we head out into free practice, rather than we make our way out onto the circuit. So, obviously, this circuit, I think this weekend, we are going to see a bit more of a high downforce dependency. But again, we'll try both drivers with some different setups, see what works, see what doesn't, and then obviously really try to fine-tune them as we get throughout the session. Hopefully, as well, it'll allow us to actually have a quick look as to what conditions could be like. Still, this car looks beautiful. I love the Golf livery we've got on this thing. As Tsunoda then is going to be first out onto the track. And Liam Lawson is not going to be a million miles away behind him there. Ollie Behrman in the Ferrari this weekend. Isaac Hadjar again in that Red Bull ahead of Fred Vesti and Mick Schumacher. So interesting that Mercedes put both junior drivers in. Ocon Gasly as normal, Albon Sargent, Magnussen, and I believe that's Chloe Chambers in the Haas car. So yeah, a few interesting ones, obviously up and down the order. And obviously, yeah, our two cars at the rear of the field. I've mentioned it on some of the other F1 videos. Annoyingly now, my camera is just in the corner of shot. So hopefully that's not going to affect things too much. And it doesn't look like we can see track conditions, car conditions even ready for the race. So we won't worry about that just yet then. We'll just try and make sure that we get both drivers happy and comfortable with the cars there. The Suzuka circuit, it's a very iconic one. You know, we do love coming back here in the world of Formula 1 as well. And obviously Yuki Tsunoda's home Grand Prix as well. I'm so hoping he can have a good weekend. We're better off focusing on our car rather than what Chloe Chambers is doing a bit further down the order as well. But like I've said, I'm so excited to dive onto this game more this year. You know, I think they've made some really, really good changes. And a massive thank you as well to Frontier for providing me with some early access as well. We've got a sponsored video going live over on the main channel later on as well today, which is really, really exciting as well there. But yeah, really, really looking forward to obviously playing a lot more of this game. Now we've kind of got a space for it, alongside, you know, MotoGP still. That series might go a little bit quiet over the next week or so, but then I'm going to be trying to sprinkle it back in, obviously in and out of some of the other content as well. But yeah, like I mentioned, this is hopefully going to be a good weekend for Yuki Tsunoda. Home Grand Prix, of course, so hopefully that'll give him those extra, you know, few tenths of a second come the end of the session there. And you can see at the moment, between the two Australians of Oscar Piastri and Daniel Ricciardo. However, it's normally been Lawson that provides us with feedback sooner than Yuki. I believe, I would have thought the weather's still the same in terms of dampness, that once you dip below 1 mil, then it's time for dries, and obviously if it's above 4 mil, I think it is.
Super tricky to work out where we are with balance.
Lawson's not happy with the car, to the surprise of perhaps nobody as well there. But yes, clearly, you know, it's probably going to be one of those horrible sessions as well where it's worth...
It's not too far away.
Oh, okay, Yuki's happy with the car, which is good. But yeah, we want to probably save some sets of intermediates ready for the Grand Prix. As there we go. Track has been deemed clear enough now for dry conditions. So we'll get a few tweaks then on Liam's car. We'll go like that then, bring him all back up into the green, which should hopefully suit him quite nicely there. And I forgot to make sure to put dry tyres on him, so we won't send him out until we've got all those sorted. Yuki as well. I'm hoping, obviously, with both him and Rotomo Miata here at Japan this weekend, there's going to be a lot of home support. You know, we want to see a lot of golf merchandise, if you will, around the circuit. Or I guess really it's 2-2 Motorsport merchandise, isn't it? So yeah, Yuki pretty happy with most things on the car. Then tyre camber, he'd like a little bit more. Oh, there we go. He wants less toe, doesn't he? So we'll try that. And we'll send him out on a set of mediums then, ready for his second run of the session. As always, it's normally with Liam we can get 2.5 runs in. With Yuki, it's normally just over 2. You know, I really want to try and put more focus onto making sure that Yuki is fully able to provide me with as much information as he can about his car setup before we send him back out, even if that does mean sacrificing ever so slightly throughout the length of an entire session there. So now I'm sort of about to see times tumble as the track, yeah, is still continuing to dry out. I don't believe it's actually meant to get wet again, is it? Over the course of the session? No, it is meant to stay completely bone dry throughout the rest of free practice here. I'm tempted as well, whether you guys would like to see it, to make some guides, sort of talking through every aspect of this game. You know, really doing some deep dives into how a lot of things work there. You know, there'll be sort of more information-based, a bit more kind of talky, and things like that. But I feel now, obviously, we've kind of got this place where F1 Manager can really thrive. Then hopefully it's going to really kind of encourage the nerds among you, just like me, you know, to really sort of dig deep in this game, really try and scratch below the surface, because they're really adding a lot of depth to the title over the last couple of editions, and I'm loving it. I really, really am. As Rotomo Miata, little mistake through turn 3.
Just proceeding through turn 4. And wide
Okay, we're not.
leaving the racing line. Perhaps a little lapse in concentration, maybe.
Oh, that was as dangerous as Carlos Sainz's last weekend. Australia, if you remember, obviously dipped half a wheel off the road, and apparently Crofty thought that was the end of his Formula 1 career that weekend. Some of you have been saying you feel that the Deltas... Oh, what is Miata doing? He's not having fun.
Around they spin, and ultimately just unable to bring the car under control.
Very, very close to the Alpine that tries to come through behind him, as we'll park ourselves in a barrier as well on the exit there. But yeah, some of you have been saying, obviously, you find that the gaps still are a bit too far away in this game, and I admit I do understand that. Obviously, you know, I feel like these games still are skewed towards upgrades, bring a lot of pace, but obviously you need a lot of them to get to the front, rather than it kind of being, you know, 2 upgrades could see you right towards the front of the field one weekend, and then another team brings an upgrade and you drop back down. I think they've kind of had to spread out the AI's pace just a little bit to try and keep the balance inside the title as well. There is hopefully we're going to get feedback from Lawson once again. He's almost gathered all the feedback he possibly can with the car. And we'll call him in. He's got 5 meters to get into the pit lane. Unfortunately not. And I didn't even get to see what he'd said either, which is not ideal either. What is Lawson's feelings towards the car? He is getting there. We made a couple of small errors, took the setup in the wrong direction a couple of spots. But hopefully, if we go like that and like that, then we're basically there, I think. Everything's back in the blue, which is good. So we'll try that out with Liam, send him out for a very short run right towards the end of the session. He might literally be able to get 2 laps in. Is Yuki there finishing his run plan? So that time around, not quite able to get all the data he would have wanted as well. They're obviously with that limited running early on. Oh, look at that. That's a good score. I'm happy with that. And so is Yuki. They're really, really happy with the setup of the car. I don't really want to tweak too much if I can avoid it, to be honest, because we've got everything pretty much as we would hope. There we go. Yeah, lots of optimal scores there is fantastic news. So Yuki, I feel, is ready for qualifying. Liam Lawson will get him sent back out there for a couple more runs right towards the end of the session. But I guess I will see you guys then as we make our way into Q1.
Let's hope the teams took full advantage of practice. It's time for qualifying.
Suzuka is a notorious circuit, both for its unpredictable weather and the difficulty of closely following other cars. Making the right call on when to head out to avoid traffic and dirty air can make all the difference here.
Karun, how do you think Logan Sargent's going to be feeling at the moment?
We saw some disappointing lap times from them in practice. It could be that the team were experimenting with the car, but the pressure's now on them to deliver.
Well, it's almost here. Qualifying coming up soon.
Well, here we are then, ready for qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix. They're meant to be the only completely dry session of the weekend, so hopefully we can try and get some good laps under our belt there. Both drivers feeling pretty happy with the car setup. You can see a couple of optimals and all greats on Yuki's side of the garage. Liam, not so happy in the end, so we might try and make a couple of last-minute tweaks to get the car sussed out where he wants it as well there. So if we just go like that, and then we try and go like that, then if we go, try and get a little bit less understeer. I'm just trying to tweak the setup around way too much, I feel, at the moment. If we go like, oh, I don't know. I'm changing around too much. This is always a bad idea when I do this before we head into a Grand Prix. But sometimes, you know, you want to give your driver the best possible starting position that you can. Can we just tweak it slightly more? No, it doesn't look like it. We'll go like that then. I think he's going to have slightly too much straight line speed. But, you know, it's by the by. I'd rather he can overtake rather than he can. Let's send him out then ready for Q1. Hopefully we're going to see, at the very least, Yuki go through with just a single run here, because that's going to be the ultimate goal. I assume we got no rain predicted over the course of the session. No, bone dry. Fantastic news. Always worried that this game tries to lull me into a false sense of security. So we'll send Liam out there nice and early then, ready for his first run. Alex Albon is on a lap behind him. Let's see then. What is Liam Lawson going to be capable of here? As Hulkenberg is set the pace on a 1:30.5. I would like for Lawson to be quite close to that, as we'll send out Yuki as well. So once Liam's finished his run, we'll have the other car to hopefully watch and a benchmark to chase as well. They're down at the start-finish straight. It's a very, very steep downhill, actually, into turn 1. Never quite realise it until... I feel like the Cody's F1 games have never really done a good depiction of kind of the elevation you get around this circuit. And then you have to weave your way back up the hill on the exit of those first corners. This will be the game. Lando Norris's T-cam, or not T-cam, but kind of shoulder cam last weekend. I feel that would be fantastic inside F1 Manager as well. There as well, we've got traffic in the way.
Oh my, the sky is just...
Great, love that. I think that's Lawson's first lap basically ruined, isn't it? So I think we'll abandon that, and we'll bring him back in, and we'll send him out on another set of tyres in just a moment there. I guess all eyes now are going to be on Yuki Tsunoda. That's so annoying. I mean, I understand, obviously, that it's going to happen at some point in the world of Formula 1, and it was, we can confirm, Alex Albon that got in the way there, but still, you know, the idea that other drivers blocking your path is never a particularly fun one there. And is Yuki Tsunoda just letting other drivers by, actually getting a good job done there of letting some other cars through. Hopefully he's going to have free track space, which he just about will. And I think he's made it through all of the traffic through the first sector as well. Still got to try and learn which buttons to press. Nope. Yuki's not happy. Yuki's really not happy, so I think we've just got to try and let him get this lap on the board, though. So at least we've got a time to chase. As Liam then back in the pit lane, 20 seconds off the pace at the moment. Haas, I mean, everybody seems... I mean, Verstappen's gone 2 seconds quicker than Perez. Yuki's really not happy here early on as we move through qualifying. I mean, I know he wants to deliver at his home Grand Prix, but yeah, he's really got to just calm himself down just a little bit here. It is only the first runs. He's got plenty of time to try and get on with it. I also don't know how much time on this... Hey!
I can't do anything.
There's nothing in front of you, man. What is he looking at? There's not a single car in sight, but Yuki Tsunoda out of the final corner, up towards the line. He is going to go P5. That's not too bad then. So we've got yellow flags out. Someone stacked it? No, doesn't look like it. No idea what that was about. There we go. Russell run wide through turn 13, apparently.
Look as we go into the 13th corner. Oh,
That's definitely not sector
watching
1.
those track limits. Really, they must be careful.
Well, obviously, George Russell had those problems back in Jeddah. But yeah, we'll make sure. I think we'll try and send Liam out then on that set of tyres again. And obviously just getting back out there. I still want to try and give him 2 runs here in this session. And we'll hopefully get a look at kind of how his pace compares to Yuki Tsunoda's. They're really, really difficult with traffic. I mean, this is a tight old circuit. It is very, very narrow, which is certainly not making our life any easier. But Liam Lawson then at the final corner. Mercedes as well, having a bit of a disaster so far. Both drivers out in the knockout.
Blocked me.
Right, I think both drivers are just moaning now. Because, I mean, that car down in turn 1, yes, not ideal. Also not the end of the world. We need to get, like, a psychologist in or something with these two. Because clearly they're either seeing things or just are way...
These guys, don't get out of the way.
I think this might be a slightly new glitch inside this game. We've got more yellows out. Not too sure what's going on. Sector 3 that time. No, don't slow down. You got to get on with it. Bottas is locked up down in turn 15. Just interested to see what mistakes they've made.
Here we are then at turn 15.
I mean, he's got traffic in the way. That Ferrari is really not in a good position.
That's just the risk you take. The later you leave it.
Yeah, I think that could be a penalty coming Ferrari's way. Not too sure which driver that was. I think it might have been... It was Charles Leclerc. So, not ideal, but apparently we're not even going to get it investigated at the moment. As Lawson's setting a decent time through Sector 2. As he rounds his way down then through the Spoon Corner, of course, preparing himself for the long run down in towards 130R. I wish this was a DRS zone. I know I always say it. I'm just going to start ignoring them now. Going on about people blocking them, apparently, because it's clearly not the case. Tsunoda, I'm really worried whether he's on that bubble or not still. He's in not a bad spot right now. I'll be interested to see whether he stays quicker than his teammate. As Lawson, pretty tidy run through the final couple of corners. No traffic to really moan about there. He is going to set a time. He goes quicker. 2/10 clear of Yuki. So that's good then by Liam Lawson. Don't think he's going to have enough time to get back in and get back out. But yeah, that to me then does confirm that Yuki needs to do one more run here towards the end of the session. Just because I'm a little bit worried he's going to get just pushed out over that bubble by the end there. And obviously we're not so sure as to what his teammate's pace is going to be like then. So Tsunoda heading back out then onto the circuit. Got to try and make sure that we find some clear space. As Russell again locking up. So not too sure what's going on there. Liam Lawson is... Sorry, Yuki Tsunoda even is pushing one of the Alpines along. Come on, Yuki, we need to get on with it. We've got to try and get down the inside of that Alpine. Oh, this is not good. Who is he battling with? Is that Ocon or Gasly? No idea. Oh, it is Pierre Gasly, so his former teammate he's having a battle with here. I guess the only good thing is that maybe, just maybe, if they both hold each other up enough, then Gasly won't make it through. As throwing sparks then and his former VCARB teammate. This is just terrible, isn't it? We've had an absolute stinker through Q1. Tripped over AI traffic. And this final lap might not get any better for us. I guess we're going to get a nice slipstream. But that Alpine is not a quick car around this venue at the moment. Hamilton, I think he's out here in Q1. Alonso as well, and George Russell in the drop zone. And it's Esteban Ocon currently last on the board, as I think that Aston Martin as well just held us up a little bit through that first sector. What is the time looking like out of Sector 1? He's down. He's down by quite a lot as well, is Yuki Tsunoda, so really not holding my breath at the moment. We've just got to hope that some of the other drivers can't improve. I think, though, on the other hand, Liam Lawson should be safe, as Russell's ruined both his runs, so he is going to be starting this race right towards the rear of the field. Ocon is still carrying damage from the opening round of the campaign, so I'm not too sure what we make of that. Doesn't require much of an improvement for Yuki here to boost his way up the order, so hopefully we're going to see him green come the end of Sector 2, which we do. He's getting a nice slipstream off of Pierre Gasly, then down in towards these final couple of corners of the lap. Just needs that tiny fraction of a second up to Nico Hülkenberg in front there, but I think if he does it, so is Pierre Gasly out of the final corner. No one able to get within 8/10 of Max Verstappen, but up towards the line, Tsunoda will stay P15. So I guess the question is now, is Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, where are we seeing those two cars? They're both on flyers at the moment, and they're both right with each other. Is Yuki Tsunoda going to be out in Q1 for the first time this season at his home Grand Prix? What's worrying me is I'm not seeing any slower traffic on laps either, so Alonso and Hamilton, I can't see a world in which they don't improve here. Through the Casio Triangle goes Lewis Hamilton. Surely the Mercedes is not going to get both cars knocked out in Q1 at the final turn, up towards the line, right up towards the grass. Hamilton will improve to P8. Alonso improves up to P5. Yuki Tsunoda, for the first time this year, out in Q1, but Liam Lawson does make it through. Oh, that is gutting. That is absolutely gutting there. Poor old Yuki Tsunoda. And I mean, look at the gap at the front of the field, though. Verstappen at 27.1. Oscar Piastri P2. Only a 1 minute 28 there. So everybody has got their work cut out if they want to get close to Verstappen as we get through the rest of qualifying. It's a very, very spread out bunch towards the front of the field there. I mean, Alonso P5, nearly 2 seconds slower than the Red Bull. We've only got one car, though, into Q2. I'm not feeling confident that we'll see Liam into Q3. Well, I've got to admit, obviously, we've had all of our qualifying focus this year has usually ended up being on what Yuki Tsunoda can do, so it is nice that Liam Lawson is kind of going to get our full focus here as we head into Q2. I mean, yeah, gutted, obviously, the fact that Yuki, the first time he doesn't see Q2 this year, is at his home Grand Prix. But hopefully Liam Lawson is still going to be able to fly the flag for 212 Motorsports here. We've got to be a bit careful. I want to make sure that we save at least one set of tyres ready for the GP, one set of softs, just in case the circuit does dry up as the race goes on. I'm also got to be a little bit careful because Lando Norris, I believe that is, has just finished off his first run in Q2. This seems to be a track that is really working out well for the V-Carbs. Miata there, you can see up in 6th. Ricciardo up quicker than Sergio Perez early on, so I'm sure we could see the Australian there maybe get that Red Bull seat back in the not-too-distant future. Charles Leclerc, though, does bump him down onto the provisional second row, if you will, here. But Lawson so far, then, this lap, decent first sector time. Obviously, I'm still trying to learn exactly what times we're looking for here, because we never really got many good representatives throughout Q1. Obviously, the one lap we really did get with Liam, obviously he was moaning that cars were holding him up, so even though there weren't any cars there, it's a little bit weird, but it is what it is then. It's down in towards the final sector of the lap time he's going to go. 37.8 isn't too bad through Sector 2, I don't believe. Completely pinned through 130 are there. Thought about hesitating on the way in, but he knows the car has got the grip and can stick there. As final chicane, he's got to try and navigate once again. I would have thought Lawson will have obviously driven around here, won't he? Obviously in his Super Formula days. He will go P7 immediately there. Puts a bit of time between himself and Sergeant Miata. That's a really, really good lap. Well, making his way then back out onto his final run here in qualifying. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite press the right button to pause it at the right time. But yeah, Liam Lawson then on his last-ditch run here in Q2, and you can see he's had more time through the first sector, another 2/10 up at the moment. He needs to find, though, nearly a second to beat Fernando Alonso here, and this is kind of the bit I'm a little bit worried about, because ultimately Red Bull absolutely leagues above everybody else around this circuit so far, especially if your name is Max Verstappen, but there are big gaps up and down the order. I mean, Hülkenberg, when have we seen a gap of 4 seconds in recent times in IRL Formula 1. It's just a little bit peculiar there, as a fraction up still through Sector 2. I'd love it if Lawson ended up best of the rest here, as he makes his way down into the final couple of corners. I mean, annoyingly, Daniel Ricciardo is absolutely flying along in that V-carb as well. So I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to get in the fight to potentially see ourselves into Q3 at the final corner. Lawson improves. He dips down into the 129s. He puts himself half a second clear of Kevin Magnussen. So I think, yeah, the Haas driver's not on a run either. It's P11 on the grid already for the Japanese Grand Prix. I believe that's one of our best qualifying positions of the year.
It won't be long before we get underway here in Japan with 53 figure-of-8 laps around this historic circuit.
Anything can happen at Suzuka, as Kimi Raikkonen proved in 2005. The Finn battled all the way from 17th to win. Will we see a similar show of will and talent today, I wonder?
Suzuka is a high-speed, high-downforce circuit with unpredictable weather. Drivers need to have total trust in their cars to make the most of this challenging figure-of-8 lap. It's race day, and final preparations are underway.
Well, I still believe Yuki Tsunoda looks incredibly cursed inside this game with the fact he's the same height as everybody else, but you gotta love it for him. Qualifying, one of the most ridiculously dominant laps I've ever seen by Max Verstappen. His best lap's pretty much a second clear of anybody else all weekend. Sergio Perez, the only other driver to get into the 127s, and Max did a 126.8 to go pole position by over 1.2 seconds come the end of Saturday running. Absolutely mental by the Dutchman there. But yeah, Raikkonen went from 17th to 1st in 2005. Maybe 19 years on, Yuki Tsunoda can do the same thing here. It is going to be a wet start to the Grand Prix. I don't know whether we should be able to have a look, actually, as to what the track conditions are meant to do as well there as we head into the race there. Taking a look at the pre-race report. Have we got any other information about the circuit as we head into the Grand Prix? I thought we would be able to at least have a look as to what the weather's meant to be doing. But apparently, it would appear not. Someone, I'm sure, is screaming at me down in the comments, telling me how easy it is to find it, but that's apparently not the way I can do things either. But we're going to start both drivers then on the wets, on the intermediates, and obviously try and make sure that they get through the first stint as best as possible. We're going to tell them to use a lot of fuel, go aggressive on the battery early on, and obviously also set themselves up to be very, very racy as well. There maybe positions can be made on lap 1 here at Suzuka. I mean, for Yuki, it's more about just trying to survive. For Liam Lawson, it's about trying to get inside that top 10. Let's do this thing. It's time for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Have you with us, folks, as we settle in for the weekend's Grand Prix action. And there's no doubting that Lance Stroll is prepared to put in the hard work.
Absolutely, sitting in P7 and hoping to pick up a few points for the team.
But just what will happen here, your guess is as good as mine. The drivers are warmed up, they're ready to go here at the Japanese Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Well, let's hope for a nice, clean, tidy start as we make our way then down in towards turn 1. Liam Lawson, I'm sure, is going to be the ones we're going to have our eyes on here because we need for him to try and go aggressive in towards that first corner. Looks like he's made it through pretty clean and tidy. And yeah, Tsunoda as well, making up a place a little bit further back. I think early on, it's going to be really, really difficult to try and challenge those quicker cars, unless, of course, we see Ricciardo struggle just a little bit here. We'll make our way through this opening lap, and then we'll see what the weather's meant to do as the race continues on, because I think that's going to be the big focus today. Eyes on the sky. There is already, we can see a little bit of rubber. It's kind of making its way into the circuit. Obviously, yeah, I don't think we're going to be long before we see a potential switch over to the dry tyres there, as Yuki Tsunoda already moaning about a lack of grip on the circuit. He has navigated the start, though. He's made one place. He's actually going to make a second one then down the inside of Logan Sargent there, and maybe he can try and attack his fellow countryman in Rotoma Miata in the not-too-distant future as well there. The Williams able to get the traction, though, around the outside down at the hairpin, so a little bit of a shame there that he's not able to make more inroads off the start. Yep, he's not happy. He is not happy early on, as we'll get both drivers just to calm down then. Pretty undramatic start in the end, especially for Logan Sargent. Sorry, not Logan Sargent, Liam Lawson even, I should say. Who is just trying to keep eyes on Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton there, just in front of him. What is the weather meant to do then as the race goes on? It is meant to sit between dry and intermediate conditions all afternoon here, so that is going to be horrible to really try and manage around this venue. So it could be that we see a lot of drivers either have to make many pit stops, or you just end up on the wrong tyre throughout small pockets of the Grand Prix as well there. But lap 1 has been survived. You can already see Lawson under a bit of pressure from Nico Hulkenberg back down in towards the first corner. Sorry, Magnussen that is. As Kevin Magnussen then will make up the move and will move back up into P11 of the GP. Everybody at least is on the Inters, which is good. So yeah, I think we're just going to have to really kind of see how we get on early on. I'm going to try and get Lawson just going a bit more aggressive on those tyres. He needs to build up temperature in them as early as he can. And he might struggle a bit more doing that than we could see with Yuki Tsunoda a little bit further behind there. As already Lawson, Hulkenberg, sorry, reporting a mechanical issue. What's going on for him?
Surely some kind of fault.
Well, we saw many mechanical problems last weekend at Albert Park, but yeah, surprised that's happened so early for Nico Hulkenberg this afternoon. You know, we have seen some races of attrition early on, but yeah, this circuit, you know, this place will catch you out, especially as obviously we've had so many wet races around here in recent years as well. Verstappen, I think he's won this one already, to be honest. I mean, you can't argue with his qualifying pace. I don't see a world in which, unless he's incredibly unlucky, he doesn't win this afternoon. But we've got our own race to focus on, and you know, we want to try and stay out of trouble as early as we possibly can here. You know, I think that balance between the inters and the dries is going to be really, really difficult, but it is just floating around. You know, it is meant to kind of taper off. It's actually meant to get to its driest quite early on in the afternoon, but even then, I'm not convinced we're going to get all the way down below the 1 mil mark on this game. So it is going to be very, very interesting to really try and monitor that as the afternoon goes on. And you see Lawson now just able to build up a bit more confidence as he's put that bit more temperature into the tyre there by working it a little bit harder. I'd be prepared to gamble with one of the drivers, bringing them over onto a set of dry compound if we needed to early on, whether it was just to try and gather a little bit of data or what there. As you can see, yeah, that rain is slowly coming down. Sargent's made a bit of a lock-up, though.
Here we are then at the 11th corner.
Well, this will be good for us. Hopefully a freebie in the back pocket.
And they'll need to be mindful of the effect that that had on the tyres.
Well, somehow he's still able to find some grip over in that grass. But yeah, if ever you were going to expect a driver to make a bit of an error, I think you'd probably put your money on it being Logan Sargent in these trickier conditions there. As Hulkenberg, yeah, reporting major issues on that Haas car. So really might be another weekend to forget for him. So we're going to do the same then with Yuki. We're going to try and make sure that he's taking a bit more out of that tyre alongside Lawson. As how close are we to the bottom of those conditions? He's meant to still get a little bit dry. I reckon we could be worth a gamble over onto dry tyres pretty soon with one of the cars. Although immediately as soon as I say that, we're just really looking at what that weather is doing early on. As already then Yuki just closing in on Valtteri Bottas. So we might try and get him just to push a little bit harder on this lap. Try and go for the overtake, Yuki. Try and get on with it. Because, yeah, that could be really, really useful later on in the afternoon. So we'll get him on the overtake aggression. He knows now he's got to try and go for it here. We should be quicker than Valtteri Bottas in that Kick Sauber car early on. They're not as bad as they are inside the F124, but they're certainly not that great still inside this game either. So as he makes his way out onto the back straight, I can see, yeah, already those track conditions getting wetter and wetter once again. Down the inside will go Valtteri Bottas then. So a bit of P14. See the crowd loving that one as well. Fantastic for Yuki, and we'll just allow him just to try and pull away a little bit from Bottas as well there. But a pretty simple move, utilising some of that extra engine power that the Renault power unit is willing to provide. And yeah, just make sure that we get away from Bottas over the course of this next lap without using too much of our battery as well there. Battery management is always a really, really critical thing to manage around a circuit like this as well, especially, you know, when there isn't much ability, you know, to kind of save up charge as well. around this lap. As, yeah, Lawson's doing okay. We'll try and make sure that we're using some of the fuel as well with both of the cars. As again, we're just watching to see how damp the circuit's getting. It's not really getting any better, but it's also not really getting any worse, as Sonoda is closing in on Miata as well. So I think that's, again, going to be another really critical one early on. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting one. I think this race is probably going to be quite a slow burn, and it's going to be more based on strategy than anything else there, as Piastri into a pretty comfortable P2 as well. He loves this track. He's always done really well around here in real life as well. But if we can get up into 12th and 13th, then unlucky for some, hopefully not us. Really put some pressure on Ratoba Miata as well. We got yellows out temporarily. I think that's been maybe... Oh, Alex Albon. So both Williams struggling with lockups. I mean, really the big one today is going to be about safety cars, isn't it? And George Russell. Yeah, a little bit of an error there by Alex. But yeah, the other one obviously we've got to remember is George Russell as well. He's obviously going to be trying to fight his way back through the order after a disastrous qualifying. So it's going to be interesting to see just how well he's able to move forward later on. Maybe we can try and apply some pressure to him as Hamilton. That Mercedes really doesn't seem to be that good around this circuit this weekend. There is hopefully we're getting Yuki closer to Ratomo as well still. Just monitoring that gap early on around this circuit there. It's floating. It's not really going the way I kind of hoped it would early on. So I think we're going to need to try and get him just to push a little bit harder on his tyres as well. He's actually losing time to Miata. So yeah, really not too sure what's going on. Whether maybe Miata's trying to push on a bit as well. You know, not too sure what to make of that one. But yeah, it's a slow old burn. Already a quarter of the way through this Grand Prix, and it still doesn't really feel like a lot has happened very, very early on. But that is the nature of Formula 1 racing sometimes. You know, a safety car at some point going to really change things up around this venue as well there. So, Yuki... I mean, he's not losing anything, but he's not really gaining anything on Miata, which I guess is not such a bad thing. Oh, okay. We've got to switch to dries. So that is very, very interesting. So we're actually going to take that gamble with Yuki. We're going to box him at the end of this lap. We're going to leave Liam out on the intermediates for now. And hope that maybe we can set some fastest laps of the day with Sonoda. Track conditions are meant to stay pretty level for at least kind of a 15-lap window. So he's going to have his work cut out, trying to make sure, obviously, that he kind of gains back the time he's lost. And obviously then gets a bit of a margin as well. But it can be quite clear-cut, at least on previous games. You know, the difference between the dries and the intermediates then. So, a bit of a gamble. But we'll wait and see as to how Gasly gets on here. As he's going to have to... I mean, he's basically the guinea pig for everybody in this race, isn't he, right now? So hopefully he's going to be able to try and work up some temperature into those tyres pretty quickly. He's come back out in P21, so only ahead of Ocon, who is still basically going around, yeah, with half a car inside this game. A little bit peculiar, but I guess it is what it is. So we'll let him try and build up some temperature. We'll let him continue to try and keep pushing over this lap as well there, and just monitoring. I mean, you can already see the gap coming down to those cars in front, which is fantastic news. Verstappen hasn't pit. I'm not seeing any of our front runners in though, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see kind of how many drivers opt to box, how many opt just to stay out there, and really just try and limp around on these intermediates when they're maybe not the ideal tyre. I'm surprised though. I thought Yuki would gain more on those cars in front. You can see he does gain a bit of time on the traction zones, but he's not gaining as much as I was really expecting him to here. I know he's trying to build up temperature still in that rubber, but I thought he'd be... I mean, he definitely is quicker, but not a huge amount quicker. It's out of the final corner. He's got to go for it. I think he's still on the overtake mode, isn't he? In terms of his aggression, so he does know what he's planning on trying to do.
Okay.
And hopefully, yeah, we're going to continue to build up that confidence there as Sargent goes down the inside of Ocon, and we just get to watch on a little bit further back as well there. But yeah, I'm very surprised so many drivers are reluctant to make the move. Hamilton really struggling as well. You can see there he's lost a bit of time to Kevin Magnussen. How much longer is it meant to stay a little bit drier for? Not long. I think Yuki's on the better strategy, but I don't want to gamble it with Liam unless we see other cars in. Speaking of which, Oscar Piastri One of the first to blink then in this race. As yeah, Liam once again, sorry, Yuki once again, they're failing to make the overtake on Esteban Ocon. Now we'll have a look down the inside though at the hairpin. Surely this one is going to be a nice done deal. Easy on the traction on the exit. And there we go, Lawson then, sorry, Yuki even then, at 1/3 distance, making the move and getting himself back up into P20. And hopefully we'll be able to try and look past Alex Albon as well very soon, because we're not that good on the battery. We're starting to run just a little bit lower than I would ideally like. We know that Williams can be very, very quick in a straight line as well. But yeah, Yuki down the inside he'll go. He still has got that little bit more grip at the moment, although track conditions again, I see when he's just getting a little bit worse. Side by side through 130R. Brave stuff between the Japanese driver and the American. Is he going to have a look down the inside? Not quite there. Again, overtake failed. And it's really knocking his confidence back at the moment. So Yuki, we've got to give him one more shot back down towards turn 1. Surely that's going to be a run. Look at that. Big launch out of that final corner. We'll put him back on the neutral. And up then into P19 he will go once more here. So critical move early on. Just starting to get a little bit worried about that weather though. So he's definitely got the advantage. But I think we are starting just to see a little bit of rain rolling back in. But it is meant to taper off once again. So has anybody else opted for dries? Norris? Oh no, they all went inters. Okay. So that's very, very peculiar then. That the AI are wanting to box. But are staying on the intermediate tyres, despite the pace that Yuki seemingly has at this stage of the race. Magnussen with issues in the pits, so not too sure what to make of that one. What has happened to Kevin Magnussen then? So we're going to be up near the points then with Liam. Clearly the team just really wanted to hug him. What on earth are they waiting for? Very, very weird down at the Haas team there. Magnussen's going to come out way down the order. And I guess the good thing is, yeah, for Liam Lawson, he is now up and into P10. We just need to try and make sure that we get into about lap 25. So we can make sure that we can still one-stop this race there as well. What's going on? We're just getting back towards that limit, aren't we, for Yuki Tsunoda? And this is really not ideal at the moment, as he's really, really struggling to keep some of those other cars at bay. Oh, Sargent pit stop issue. So we've got yellow flags out. It's all going on at the moment. What happened to Logan Sargent? Couldn't get the wheel on properly. Could not line up that wheel, and disappointment for Logan Sargent then, who's going to find himself a little bit further down the order. Hulkenberg going for a spin down at turn 16. There's lots going on at this early stage. Just drops it on the traction. Yeah, just lack of grip there for Nico Hulkenberg. Gets it going pretty quickly, actually, in front of some quicker cars. So, did a good job there to get it back under control. But yeah, this gamble with Tsunoda hasn't worked out for us, I don't think. He's really, really struggling once again on those tyres. And I don't think it's meant to get really any drier throughout the rest of the afternoon either. He will still have a few more laps where maybe it will come back to him just ever so slightly. But yeah, we've got to try and keep Liam out there just for a few more laps. So then we can go on to another set of the inters right the way through to the end of the afternoon. Lots of drivers opting to two-stop this race. So I think, yeah, we've got to try the one-stop with Liam here and see if we can make it work. So there we go. Track conditions back to dry again. So once again, Yuki is going to be flying along inside this race and hopefully picking up some time against some of our other runners there. It's really, really odd early on. As Liam, yeah, just starting to struggle a little bit with the tyres. I think we can afford to box him, though, at the end of this lap. He's got, I mean, we have got a lot of fresh sets of tyres, so we're going to box him at the end of this lap. A little bit earlier than we would have liked, but obviously, remember, we did take a lot out of the tyres early on to try and make sure that we were able to get them up to temperature. So hopefully it's not going to be the end of the world for him. We'll even get him just to push on with the battery as well on this final lap of the stint. I am staggered. We haven't seen more drivers make the switch over to the dries. It is meant to get worse again over the next few laps, and, well, clearly it hasn't really worked for Yuki so far. But I am staggered that nobody else has really taken the punt with him, as we probably could have opted to bring him onto the inters once again. But I think once we get over that 1 mil of weather, then we will absolutely do that with the Japanese driver. He's having an absolute stinker of a home Grand Prix so far, and for that I do apologise to poor old Yuki Tsunoda here. Liam Lawson, though, making his way down the pit lane once again. Into his box he will come. And on to a second set of the intermediates, so hopefully see him to the end of the afternoon. 3 seconds under, not a bad stop, but certainly could have been ever so slightly better there. As where will Yuki be out in comparison? A little bit further back. So yeah, I think we've got a few more laps before we dive Yuki onto another set of the tyres there. I think, yeah, we'll just wait for it to get wet enough. And then we're going to opt to make him box once again there. As Lawson... He's not really out in too much drama, is he, at the moment? He's just kind of staying where he is. Oh, no, he's actually made the move on Miata. Completely missed that one.
Now, we're watching the action closely here. The opportunity begging to be taken.
Good little move. Good little move there by Liam Lawson. Back up into P16? Yep, P16 then. And hopefully now... How many times have we made a move down here? Straight down the inside of Gasly. He'll go. Obviously, we have used a lot of battery, though, in the process to make that happen. But at the moment, yeah, we're not running a bad spot in this Grand Prix with Liam Lawson. Hopefully, this could be a new best result of the year for him on the cards in the not-too-distant future there. As Lawson and Gasly still trying to duke it out. Gaining up a few places again due to other drivers having to make their pit stops. And hopefully now we're going to be able to make the move on Zhou Guanyu as well. I think P12 sensibly is all we're going to be able to achieve here. So I think if we can get him back up into that position and know that we can bring it home, that would be really, really ideal. It's down the inside of Zhou Guanyu. Surely this is going to be a pretty simple move. He's going to have the inside line for 130 He's going to be cleanly through. Zhou Guanyu, though, finding the grip around the outside. So maybe just a lack of confidence still by the inexperienced Kiwi. And Zhou Guanyu will really capitalise on that through the final couple of corners. We've got to make the move happen, though, with Zhou Guanyu into the pits. That's one way to make the move happen, as annoyingly Hamilton, of course, will make it through. And Verstappen has put us 1 lap down, so really not ideal in that regard. But yeah, Lawson... Okay, so Yuki, I think it's time to box him back for another set of inters. And I believe that's just before the pit lane as well, so hopefully he's going to be able to immediately dive in. Yeah, we took a gamble with Yuki Tsunoda. Admittedly, hopefully, it's going to make both his inters runs a little bit easier to manage as well. But yeah, really not ideal at this stage of the afternoon. It has just been an entire weekend to forget for Yuki Tsunoda here, who, yeah, has run into problems all weekend. And ultimately, yeah, has paid the price, especially when Liam Lawson has been doing so well. It really is disappointing to see, especially, you know, when you want your home Grand Prix driver to do well. It is really, really painful when they don't get the race they would have wanted there. He's riding on board with him in the box. The Yuki Tsunoda making his way back out onto the circuit. Then he still should be ahead. So there we go. We go 7th, apparently, on the DHL Fastest Lap Award as well there. But we come back out still ahead of, I believe, Hulkenberg. So not the end of the world in that regard. But ultimately, I think we are in for a long, long second half of this afternoon there. Both drivers need to look after tyres. And both drivers ultimately haven't got a lot that they can really gain as well at this stage of the day. We're kind of waiting for a safety car or something to happen, which will hopefully, you know, spice things up later on in the race. And often we find on the other Formula 1 games that wet races make things really interesting. What we find on this game is that wet racing kind of does what it tends to do in real life, especially when the track isn't that wet. It just kind of means everybody has to follow one line, especially around a circuit like Suzuka. Not a lot can really happen as you make your way throughout the afternoon there. Hamilton now is behind Kevin Magnussen, so we would ideally like to see, you know, Haas not able to really score many points. If we're being completely honest, I'd rather Mercedes score than them, because ultimately, you know, Merc aren't going to be a rival throughout much of this campaign. But less than 20 laps to go, though, and already, yeah, we really are just settling in for the rest of the afternoon there. As where is Lawson still? He's, yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit of a gap over Miata. George Russell and the Japanese driver a little bit further behind still, having a bit of a ding-dong with each other. But ultimately, yeah, not a lot, I hope, is really going to come for it. Especially as we're hopefully just able to monitor that gap. And I think, obviously, both of them have still got to pit again before the end of the afternoon. Magnussen, talking of which, into the pit lane. So we might move up then back into P11. Unfortunately, the Haas driver there has a pretty clean, tidy pit stop, and obviously Haas down right at the end of the pit lane as well. I don't think we're going to be able to do that one. There goes Magnussen out of the pit lane. Liam Lawson, he's going to be mighty close, but on on older tyres even. Don't really think he's going to be able to get much of a look in here, and of course we have got to manage those tyres towards the end of the afternoon as well. Their sights also into the pit lane. As Perez then, he's 46 seconds behind Verstappen. How has Verstappen pulled like that much of a lead inside 35 laps? Of course there has. Of course Ferrari have had issues as well.
The Ferrari team prepared for the stop. Oh, but they have trouble releasing the car.
Bit like Haas early on then. Just fancied holding onto the car, giving it a little bit of a hug. Make sure it was alright there. A little bit odd. But yeah, Stroll. Oh, we got yellows? Why have we got yellows? Someone's got issues maybe? Why have we got yellows out on the track? I can't see anybody in the pit lane. Sargent's gone for a spin. But I don't think, again, I don't think that's going to amount to anything. I don't even think no, we would have a safety car still. So there you go. Nice shot of Sargent going around. You don't say, Sunshine. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, we take a safety car. It would be nice to bunch back up the order, but so far today, yeah, it really has. I mean, for the first race back inside this game, it really has been a little bit of a dull one here. As Hulkenberg, unfortunately, out of the race as well. Mechanical gremlins for him. That's not Hulkenberg, that's... Does Yuki... Hey? What on earth are we watching? I don't know what's happened there. I'm very, very lost. We had Yuki clearly not happy about having to go through 130R. And Haas clearly aren't happy for him either. Fernando Alonso back into the pit lane. He's going to be out way in front of us, isn't he? Yeah, no chance that we're going to get close to him with Liam. But I guess, you know, you got to look at the strong points. Liam Lawson has been very, very quick all weekend. Easily his best weekend in terms of raw pace so far this season as well there. As we make our way, though, in towards the final few laps of this Grand Prix. New fastest laps coming in here and there as well. Unfortunately, yeah, despite Tsunoda and his earlier escapades, I don't think that is going to make the difference either come the end of the afternoon, as we've got a few cars closing in terms of quicker traffic. But yeah, Lawson, P12, Tsunoda, I mean, yeah, it's been a really, really disappointing race for him. Oh, safety car! Why? What's happened? As soon as I'm just starting to play down the end of the race, what has happened?
Now we see this was at turn 15. With not much room to move. Oh, that's quite an impact between them. And they'll be
massive shot.
One unhappy team after that.
Gasly's gone through the catch fence. How has that happened? Late on in the day.
From the team watching on the monitors.
I mean, genuinely, the closest crash I can describe that to was Romain Grosjean's a couple of years ago. I don't know whether... I mean, surely, yeah, we've got a box, haven't we? We've got a box and go on to... Is it worth it? I'm not sure it's actually going to be worth it. I reckon... I don't think this safety car will come in by the end of the race. I mean, that was a huge shunt for Miata there. He pushed Gasly through the barriers, through those final couple of corners. So, hopefully, Pierre Gasly is alright as well. I mean, it gives Tsunoda a couple of freebies towards the end. I would have rathered it was a couple of cars further up the order, but with just 6 laps to go of this Grand Prix, I'm not convinced we're actually going to see it go back to green flag racing here, to be completely honest with you. So I don't really want to sacrifice track position, although ultimately it will make no difference in the bigger picture. I don't think it's going to be based on countback come the end of the season. And yeah, we can see there Miata, home Grand Prix drama for Ratomo, who will pick up a penalty as well, despite the fact obviously he's out of the Grand Prix. So I can only assume that'll be converted into a penalty for next weekend. But absolute scenes towards the end of the Japanese Grand Prix there. Safety car still out, trying to make sure it collects up all the correct runners. And like I said, I'm not convinced we'll see this go back to green before the end of the afternoon there. But if it does, it is certainly going to create a little bit of drama as well there. I mean, we have still got a few more laps to go, so there should be time. Safety car's ending. So that's really annoying then, so I don't think we're quite going to catch up with the group that we needed to. So now Lawson's been put under pressure from George Russell, but Verstappen is still going to be leading the way at the front of the field. How on earth they didn't allow the field to bunch back up, I will never quite understand, and I've completely forgot to get both drivers pushing again. That was almost really, really costly for us. I mean, we can basically go full deploy, can't we, into these final couple of laps. But yeah, very, very peculiar there that safety car kind of brought back in before everybody had a real opportunity to catch back up to it. But Verstappen, that huge lead he had early on, has been absolutely destroyed here. I mean, he's probably been able to box and move back over onto a fresh set of tyres as well. But yeah, Lawson not that far behind Magnussen and Lewis Hamilton here. Maybe there's an opportunity for him late on in the race, but he is still under pressure from George Russell as well. There's Tsunoda. I mean, Alex Albon's a lap behind Zhou Guanyu in front near enough, so yeah, I don't really think Yuki's going to be able to get much more out of this Grand Prix either then. But Liam Lawson making his way through. He's got a big defensive drive on his hands as George Russell is still absolutely trying to apply the pressure. That Mercs has got problems, though, on that car, so it might not be over just yet. And if we can continue to close in, maybe Magnussen and Hamilton can battle in front, which it doesn't appear that they are. Would have been really, really useful here, as hopefully these other cars are going to get out of our way in the near future as well. Liam Lawson so close to potentially some points early on this season. But yeah, I'm just starting to get a little bit worried there. As Leclerc, what's happened to Charlie boy then? Charles Leclerc picking up a little bit of damage late on. Don't think that's going to create too much intrigue for the end of the race. But you can see cars 2 by 2 as they make their way down towards 130R. So this is quite impressive late in the day. And I tell you what, Lawson, he's taken time out of that car in front. Apparently we've got blue flags. Not too sure what that's about, because we are still on the lead lap and not a million miles away. Hopefully that, yeah, that's going to be for the Williams then, who's going to move out of our way. Hopefully Gasly, oh sorry, Ocon even, is going to do the same back down in towards turn 1. Of course he's not, because he's Esteban Ocon here. But 2.5 seconds now, the gap to Hamilton. Magnussen has made the move in that Haas car. The only other thing I'm worried about, yeah, is that obviously Liam hasn't got much battery here right towards the end of the afternoon as well. So drama potentially starting to affect things right towards the end of this Grand Prix. Yuki, it doesn't really matter what happens. Don't think he's going to be able to do anything before the end of the afternoon. But could we see late drama for Lewis Hamilton and Magnussen here? I think annoyingly, Magnussen seems to have the pace, as track conditions have dried out once again. So I don't think we're going to see anybody take the gamble this late on in the day. But I'm just not convinced we've quite got enough pace here. Ocon's still not getting out of the way, which is a little bit of a shame for us. But ultimately, oh, we got yellows. We got yellows. No, Lawson. Liam Lawson, he's the one that's made the mistake.
Closely here, and nearly, just running wide. But all being well and fingers crossed, no lasting damage to the car.
Oh, he was pushing on towards the end. You got to give him credit. He was a fighter. He was not willing to give it up until right towards the end of the race. And unfortunately, George Russell is going to be handed that P12 position as well there, which is a little bit gutting considering we've spent so much of this race running in that coveted 12th place. I'm not really sure why it's coveted, but we're pretty happy with it. We were going to be really happy with that for Liam. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to come away for him there. As on to the final lap then of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, he's just absolutely walked this one, hasn't he? Utterly dominant, utterly ridiculous the pace he's had throughout the entirety of today. The Dutchman on to, the last lap of the Grand Prix. He hasn't quite won it just yet there for Maximilian as well. But even with a late safety car, even with the drama bunching the field back up together, Verstappen has absolutely had a cakewalk today. In towards 130R for the final time. He took pole by over 1.2 seconds from his nearest competitor. No one has been able to touch Red Bull this weekend as well. Through the Casio Triangle, actually this time around for the final time, Max Verstappen is going to win the Grand Prix there. As, I mean, look at that. Lawson's made a move. Lawson has got by past Russell. That is fantastic scenes. Down the inside he'll go. Used all of his remaining battery there. And through he'll go, back him in a P12. Liam Lawson, he is a fighter through and through, right to the end. And that's really, really good to see come the checkered flag there. Verstappen takes the win ahead of Norris and Oscar Piastri there. So I believe the same top 3 as we saw last year as well. I mean, that final result really does paint a very different picture to how the race really ran, to be honest. Because, yeah, Verstappen, he absolutely walked this one right the way through there. Lawson, though, in towards the final couple of corners. He's going to be able to defend from George Russell to the flag there. Tsunoda just about gets the jump on Albon as well. Out of the final corner, it's going to be a drag race to the line. Lawson hangs on to P12. A bit of a disappointing one on the whole. A bit of a shame as our return to this game. But that's a good result for Liam.
Well, things just didn't go well for Yuki Tsunoda today.
It's been a very frustrating day for them, and they leave without any points. That's not the sort of performance we'd expect to see, really.
And no doubt, Verstappen fans will be celebrating the Dutchman's achievement.
That takes them up to 3 wins this season. They proved just so hard to beat.
And a lovely show of sportsmanship to conclude proceedings here in Japan. Well, Karun, how do you think they'll be feeling in the team garage at the end of that?
Well, it was a bit of a mixed bag here. Some things went their way, but others didn't. I think their main target now will be finding some consistency for sure.
And that's all for today as we wrap up the weekend here in Japan.
Join us for the next round as we head to Shanghai for all the excitement of the Chinese Grand Prix.
Well, there we are then. Max Verstappen takes the win here at Suzuka, despite the safety car still able to complete the race in less than 90 minutes there. Fastest lap as well. He wasn't actually that dominant in terms of fastest lap, but yeah, you just look at the weekend he had, absolutely in control, never looked in doubt, did it for him. Lando Norris, a good drive from P4 to P2 in the end, beats out his teammate Oscar Piastri, with Charles Leclerc as well, also moving past Carlos Sainz. Perez in 6th ahead of Stroll, Ricciardo picking up more points for VCarb, and then with Alonso and Magnussen picking up a point for Haas as well. Then Lawson, like I said, it was a fairly boring race for the most part, but I am happy for our Kiwi, able to get a good result there in the end. Beats out Russell, Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, Tsunoda, Albon, Sargent and Esteban Ocon there, with Gasly and Rotoma Miata, as well as Hulkenberg, all failing to see the checkered flag there. Championship-wise, the Dutchman now with a 19-point lead over Lando Norris in P2, with Charles Leclerc still in 3rd ahead of Perez and Sainz. Constructors-wise as well, Red Bull leading that one by 33 points over Red Bull. Red Bull leading that one by 33 points over McLaren, even I should say. We're still in 8th place at the moment, best of the rest on count back, but boy oh boy, yeah, I think that hopefully those first points, again, are going to be happening in the not too distant future. Taking a look at the DHL fastest pit stop award, Red Bull still leading that title. Sergio Perez had the fastest pit stop of the weekend. We didn't do very well in that regard, actually. In fact, this weekend we were pretty terrible by the looks of things, and we are still in 9th place overall in that championship there. No, we didn't. We did okay. Tsunoda was 9th. I don't know how I didn't see that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys did still enjoy. Please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow then, ready in Shanghai for our first sprint weekend of the year.